Noah, bro, you have been everywhere, done everything. I'm hella excited to interview you, man. There's so many things to talk about, and we only have an hour, so it's going to be hard to fit it all in. But for everyone who's watching or listening, this is Noah Neiman. Once again, seen everything. Sold drugs. Working for
hold up. I've done many other things. Why'd you gotta lead in with that, my guy?
Because I'm starting
Let me warm up the audience.
Beginning of the journey, right?
Okay, fine.
Beginning of the journey.
Yes. Sold drugs.
Hear me out.
Sold
all
drugs.
right.
Not anymore to the FBI.
Sold drugs. Working for Albanian mafia. Just in a really tough position in life. To now, incredibly successful entrepreneur. Last time I checked, your company is worth a little over $500 million, right? Is that still pretty accurate or a little more? You don't have to give an exact number.
Market fluctuates, but so I sold my IP of Rumble, and we'll talk about Rumble and how I built that and kind of the crazy, Slumdog Millionaire story or billionaire story of that. But I sold the IP to a company called Exponential, who goes out and franchises locations. So we took equity in that deal. So we have equity in the company, and they have subsequently sold, I want to say, over 350 licenses with over 100 opened. We just opened Tokyo. I flew out to Bondi in Australia to open them up. So they're in Texas. They're everywhere.
Nice.
So the value of the company is it's solid, Nice. Especially during the pandemic. We survived a pandemic where the company was literally worth zero. Like all of our locations were shut. We had massive, big city rents, LA, San Francisco, DC, Philly, New York. And we found a way to pivot. So
nice. Well, I want to talk about that too. But first of all, I think what you just said there is really important, right? So this is like your baby, right? Grew it from the start, and you kind of just gave you got it on your arm right there?
I got I'm like a Guy Ritchie
bro.
film. So like everything important, like my parents, my dog that just passed away, like my family, like it's all tatted on
Dude,
my
I'm building
arms.
out the same exact thing on mine, so that's sick to
I
see.
see you're a member of the tribe as well.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's always good to meet other Jews that are killing it, man.
God, Hashem bless.
Hell yeah. But so wait, you're building this company as your baby, right? From the start.
Baby.
And then at this point, you give off control to somebody else. I think that's a decision that's hard to make, right? How do you come to terms with the fact, like, wait a minute, like this is my thing, but this person might be able to grow it a lot better than I can?
It's called, and it's something that I think entrepreneurs in general need to learn a lot of, and I'm still learning every day. It's humility. You have to understand your strengths, and you have to concede to your weaknesses. So I've surrounded myself with people that are much more proficient in scaling. I'm really good at creating experiences and creating the substance, the product, the service. I'm really good at anticipating consumer expectations and needs so that I can really fulfill those before they even might know they need them fulfilled. That's my strength. But SOPs and like all the stuff that corporate America is really good at, which is ironic because I am an accountant by trade. I started my professional career at J.H. Cohen, a mid-sized accounting firm in New York City. Shout out J.H. Cohen. They've never been shouted out like that before, like it's a rap song.
Send them an invoice right after.
Yeah, right? Marketing fee.
Yeah.
But I was miserable. So like, we can talk about that later. But again, you have to understand and not let ego get in the place of, because it is my baby. Like, again, I got these tattoos the week we opened. I didn't even know if this thing was going to work. But in my heart, in my bone marrow, I did. Because I knew the people around me, and I knew that we had something different. And so we just built it off that. But again, you have to know your weaknesses. I think that's much more important than, idolizing your own strengths.
That's really valuable, and that's something I'm trying to figure out too. I feel the exact same way. Like, I love the branding aspect. I love creating this story around like why we're creating our company, why we're trying to build it, why I'm doing it myself. And that's like what my content is about. I don't like the boring stuff behind the scenes. I'm curious if you think, is it better if you know your strengths to try and build on your weaknesses, or do you try and find other people who succeed in those areas and partner with them?
You should at least be intelligent enough to hold a conversation with the people that are far more intelligent than you. So you can't, in every facet of business, I always say that everything matters or nothing matters. I mean, marketing, branding, sales, systems, ops, like all that encompasses building a brand and a business is important.
Yeah.
So there is no way, short of you being, Rain Man, to understand effectively all of those areas. You just don't have enough time to study. Should you definitely be well-versed in all of them? Yeah. should you find your niche and your core competency that you really love so you can put in the hours necessary to develop that trait, develop those skill sets, and maybe find something unique that you can deliver to your audience or your company and add value to your other employees, which is by far the most important part of a leader, is how do I create a frictionless environment for everybody that I've surrounded myself with and employed to grow their skill set and deploy their skills effectively so that there's no friction, or at least minimal friction. Now, you're going to run into problems that you're going to have to put out. Like, you're putting out fires all day. You're a firefighter, I say, as an entrepreneur. But you can't, there's not enough hours in the day to become a master of every area.
Yeah.
But like the old corny adage, and we love on these podcasts, these like, you know, corny platitudes and idioms. I'll play the game. Like, you know, jack of all trades is better than king. What's the thing?
I'm not
now
sure.
I'm forgetting it. It's like jack of all trades. What can we get in the booth and like Google this? Is this like a Joe Rogan thing?
No, unfortunately not. But I could pull it up after, add it to the screen.
But there's something about a jack of all trades, and then the full line is the jack of all trades is actually better than the master of a singular thing. Really? So as long as you're well versed in a couple things, and I'll expand upon that, like be well versed in a couple things, but have your one thing.
For sure.
Like if it's creating experiences, if it's customer service, if it's whatever it is, just find that one thing.
Well, the one thing that I notice about you, the one thing, and there's probably a lot of things that you like. I was going to ask in a second.
I'm surprised there's one, to be honest.
Superpower is, but the first thing I noticed right now, and in your content, dude, you're just fucking full of energy, right? How important is that in both the leadership role, the content role? Like, I imagine that that's something that just makes every single skill set better. It exemplifies it, maximizes it, whatever you want to call it.
Well, first off, thank you.
Yeah.
My mom would always call me the machine gun or the Energizer Bunny because I was relentless, even from a young age. And I can't take full credit. I have to give credit to my parents, DNA, and God, because I have ADHD, which contributes. I've learned to harness that wild, erratic nuclear energy for a purpose now, which is why in the past, like, I was so destructive. I got kicked out of schools. I got kicked out of Hebrew school because please don't judge me, because again, this was like a long time ago.
I think it's important for you to say this because there might be people who are also going through that and they think, oh, I'm a fucking loser and everyone hates me or whatever.
I was the biggest fuck up for sure, 100%. I was like, again, getting kicked. How do you get kicked out of Hebrew school? But so they were screening the Diary of Anne Frank, and I was like a little 11-year-old kid, and I was very disruptive, and I had this boundless ADHD and energy. They tried to medicate me, it didn't work, and I was making some jokes. And don't laugh at that. That's not funny. That's not funny. I was like, would Justin Bieber be a fan of, would Anne Frank be a fan of Justin Bieber? I was like, that was me. But they kicked me out.
Trying to lighten the situation.
Yeah, I was trying to, that's how Jews, we heal. We joke about things that are very serious.
That's why there's so many
it's not funny. It's totally inappropriate, but I got kicked out of Hebrew school and I got sent to Israel to get bar mitzvah. That's the only place that would actually make me a man.
Wow. So bringing it back to the homeland. Yeah.
So I don't know why I started that story. What was the question?
Okay, so
there's going to happen a bunch.
Your energy, man.
The energy.
It's infectious, bro. And it
authentic energy.
It makes people want to be around you.
Yes. So it's important to, this is an entrepreneurial podcast, always be somebody that other people want in the room. So again, authenticity is super important. I train very hard to wake up and feel energized, and I treat my body right, which, obviously is the foundation, one of the foundations of my career, which is taking care of your vessel, the vessel that you own, which is your body.
Yeah.
So I've always walked into the room and wanted to be that person that lifted it up. It got me in trouble in school a little bit, but now I've learned to, again, use that as a superpower and harness it. So I remember one of my first private clients, because I started as the whirlwind chain of events, landed me as a trainer in New York City. And one of my first private clients, who ended up being a really incredible mentor, this guy, Rick Gerson of Falcon Edge Capital, just genius of a man. One of the earliest things and why he kept me on as a trainer was like, bro, you walk into the room every time and you're just bouncing. You just you make me want to work out. You make me want to just be here. And it's so simple, but it's hard to do, because obviously, did I want to walk into that room, full of energy every time? No. My dog's sick. I'm fighting with my girl at the time. Things are going wrong. I'm tired. I didn't eat. But I've always been one to say, those are my problems. So I have my core group, my little like small council that I can vent to when I need to, because obviously you should express all elements of your personality and your feelings for sure. But when it comes to being in the public, and especially people that can help you grow and you can learn from, you want to make sure to earn that spot at the table so that they want you to be there. You don't have to sell yourself. So I never had to sell myself to be in the room anywhere.
Because they just wanted you in there. And I think a big takeaway that I got from that is, I'm sure you were a phenomenal trainer, but you might not have been you might not have been the best trainer in that gym, but you were probably the trainer that everyone wanted to work with simply because of your attitude. And I think that applies to everything else in life. Like, you don't need to be the hardest worker. You don't even need to be the smartest guy or the most effective. But like, I worked in restaurants when I was a kid. There was this one girl, this little tiny Mexican girl. She was such a hard worker, and she made I didn't even have to work that hard, but she was just so negative, so annoying to be around. And then there's one like really tall, funny dude who didn't even work, and I had to take on his whole load, but he's making me laugh the whole time, so I'm happy to show up. And it's the same thing in any work environment. So if you can get people excited to go to work, everyone's going to be more effective. Exactly. And you're going to make more money, be a better leader.
Totally true. But imagine if you combine those two worlds. You know, the energy and attitude of that tall, Scooby-Doo looking guy, and that other hard worker. So I've always tried to harness my skills and be like, I hate that idiom, like, work harder, not smarter. Like, I work smarter, not harder. I'm messing up every single phrase. It's because I don't believe in them. Like, I don't believe in these platitudes, so they sit in the back of my head. Work smarter, not harder. That's like, okay, cool. Like, that'll get you working for 3 days. Yeah. But like, what if we work smart and hard? And what if we took care of ourselves? And what if we made sure we rested and made sure we invested in our emotional state as well by dealing with friends and family and finding the other hobbies that we wanted to pursue, so that when we did work, we could work smart and hard. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, everything matters or nothing matters. We come up with these extremes, especially in this Instagram like clip generation, where we have to live in this like polarizing world because that's what generates clicks and views and shares. And like, I'll give you some controversial shit for sure during this conversation. I mean, I have a lot of it in my life, but I've always found at the end of the day, it's like Nicole McKay in ethics, like virtue is kind of the mean between two extremes. So I find my times where I do occasionally live in those extremes. But then I try to always have my middle ground, and my base is more elevated than most because I've trained that. I've trained to come in here. I've been traveling all week. I've been doing 1,000 different events and podcasts and stuff like that. But how dare I disrespect your time by coming in low energy, by being inconsistent with who I'm at least like showing to be online, which I'd never want to be disingenuous. So a lot of my stuff, actually all of it pretty much, is user generated content. Yeah. It's just like me with my dogs and my camera. Yeah. People are like sometimes getting bored, but I'm like, this is my life. I don't want to curate something for you. I just want to show you who I am and the consistency that I bring to the table. And I did something like I flew out to host an event for Delta. Delta One has a new lounge.
I saw that video.
But like, it was funny because my niece roasted me. I have this younger niece, and I did like the voiceover thing. I used CapCut for the first time in my life. Like, I think I'm too old to use CapCut for
the video. Was pretty well done.
Thank you, man. I tried, but she roasted me.
That's a hard skill. People think, oh, it must be so easy, but in reality, when you make it look easy, it means you did a good job, which is
thank
perfect.
You. I appreciate that because you're definitely more of a professional than I am.
Not at all.
My niece roasted me. She's like, it's giving like heavy influencer vibes, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I had to do it, and like it was fun to do, and like I've never done it before, so it was novel for me. She was like, you need to do what's the thing that like what I'm wearing daily or whatever. Like,
get ready with me.
Get ready with me. See, he knows this shit. I don't know this. Yeah. I don't know this stuff. But she's like, oh yeah, now I expect you to do like a get ready with me thing. I'm like, what is that? And
get ready with me to go to Rumble Boxing. Like that.
Is that a thing? That's a thing?
No, but it could be.
Go to Rumble? I would do that. But that's the thing is like.
That's the type of video that does do well. Yeah.
So again, I think it's important to bound all of this stuff, and like, I don't like being negative, but I will throw some people under the bus eventually at this. There's just so many disingenuous, like pseudo-intellectual fitness and entrepreneurial bros that are like literally only successful because they're selling courses to kids that are impressionable and young that thinks that this is what it takes to be successful. They've never built a business. That's what I'm saying. And I hate it. Yeah. Like, you've never built a business, brother. Like, you've never led. All you're doing is you're sitting up there and like looking like, Mr. Clean that shops at Baby Gap, yelling at people to like put down the food. You know exactly what I'm talking about too.
Yeah.
You know exactly.
Yeah, I do.
And the good thing about being a fighter, boxing for 13 years and training MMA for 10 is like I can say the shit. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like come at me. I
Nice.
don't care. But not that I want to fight anybody. But I'm just saying like
when people walk the line, at least in my experience, it doesn't really do much at all. But when you can take a stance on certain subjects or certain controversial opinions and viewpoints, then you actually garner like a lot of. You're not only authentic, but you get a lot of people in your corner because they're like, this guy isn't afraid to say what he. Look at the strongest personal brands of all time. Whether you like him or you don't, Elon Musk, Trump, Dave Portnoy, Joe Rogan. Yeah. These guys all have very strong personal brands.
Of course.
And there's guys on the other side that do as well, Jordan Peterson, whoever, because they're not afraid to go on one side or the other. But I want to shift a little bit here because there's so much to get out of you, man. We only have so much time. But
brevity's not my strong suit, so I cleared the day. You tell me. As
right,
long as I don't bore you guys.
All right.
Home,
I doubt it. But I want to hear like a little bit of the early story before we go into how you built this business.
You want to hear about the drugs and the mob and the
not even for like an entertainment standpoint, but I think when you can show that you've like really been like at the lowest points possible and,
almost
and
died.
You've seen everything.
You left that part out.
I didn't know that part.
Well, no, I almost.
Yeah,
died.
so please explain,
OD.
bro. When people see that and then they see where you're at today, like that's incredibly inspiring because most people might see wealthier people or successful people and think, I can't do that.
Oh, 100% you can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes a lot of work and a lot of support from, other people in your life. So again, conceding to your weaknesses is important. But I mean, where do I even start? I mean, I told you I was a troubled kid, stole an occasional car or two from the Waterworks Cinema Theaters in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Statute of limitations is up, so you can't go to jail for that. I looked, so I can admit that freely. But I've definitely sold drugs in college to, get the things. I would I grew up like any other respectable Jewish kid. Like my first tape, this is going to age me, which is probably why I shouldn't be on that. What's it? Watch Me Get Ready or Get Ready with Me. Yeah, which is probably why because I just referenced a tape.
Yeah.
And kids don't even know what that is. It's a thing you put into a cassette player and it was Doggy Style by Snoop Dogg. So like any respectable kid, I grew up watching rap videos, Tupac, Snoop, all these guys. And I wanted to emulate them with the Rolexes and they were dancing on yachts and having fun. So like in college, I thought that let me figure out how I can finesse people to make money so that I could, get the M3 that I had in college. And like, instead of focusing
M3 in college. Nice.
I was slanging, man.
Hell yeah.
I was slanging. M3 convertible, drop top with fucking a radar detector on the front and the back.
Nice.
No, I didn't deserve it. And that's why it didn't make me as happy as it should because I earned it in a very disingenuous way. So I would go to Canal Street and buy like Gucci hats and I would come and sell them on Long Island. I went to Hofstra, which is a funny story because coincidentally Eugene Rem, who owns Catch Restaurants and my business partner in Rumble, he went to Hofstra as well. We call it the Harvard of Hustle. But anyway,
did you guys meet there or met later on?
No, we met a little bit later on when I was in nightlife in New York City, but that's a little later story. So was, selling drugs and I wanted all the things and you get it through like disingenuous means and it doesn't make you feel good because you get the thing and you're like, all right, cool. It's fun to drive. But like, damn, I feel like a scumbag now. So fast forward, I get my degree in accounting. I actually do kind of well in school. Get my degree in accounting.
Was that because of hard work or were you naturally like very intelligent? Some people just take tests, they just ace them without studying. Or did you work hard?
I did. I actually coincidentally worked really hard. All I would do is I didn't go out much because I didn't love to drink at the time. I would go to Sarah Jiu-Jitsu in Long Island, which ended up probably really making sure that I stayed the course. And actually that 4 years at Sarah Jiu-Jitsu ended up coincidentally saving my life later on. And this will be like a full circle story in a second when I get to the end. So Sarah Jiu-Jitsu, I studied and I had this boy Jesse Kirk who would call me at like 5 a.m. and he's like, bro, let's go for a run to Roosevelt Film Mall. And I was like, oh, fine. So we would pop like 7 Stacker 3s, which was like, now they're banned. That you bought them at like 7-Eleven. It was like ephedra. It was like legalized meth. It was like Breaking Bad. Like literally Heisenberg came in and like threw it in your mouth. And then we would go for runs. So I was very into fitness at the time as well. So that kind of kept me grounded. And then on the side, I would hustle and I would sell and, I would find ways to make money so that I could afford the cool things that I thought that I needed, which you actually end up realizing you don't really need.
Yeah.
So got the job as an accountant, and then I realized like oh, what did I do? Like, I really screwed up. I don't want to do this. I was sitting like every day.
What age is that at, by the way?
This is 21.
Okay.
Yeah, so just out of
right
college.
out.
Yeah, right out of college, 21. I'm like literally running to the bathroom to like literally sob and like call my mom and be like, I can't, this is what we're supposed to do, like for our whole lives. I'm supposed to sit from like 8 to 6 p.m. I'm supposed to go to Delaware and count mattresses at a hotel during auditing season. Like, I like, again,
yeah,
ADHD energy throughout this whole thing. I'm like, I got to be destined for more. So I end up, there's this one fateful day where my then boss at the time, I don't know why I did this. My then boss at the time, I don't follow no man's rules. He called me in and he was like sitting in his corner office overlooking, you know, Rockefeller Center. And it was a pretty office. And he goes, listen, people love you. Even at that time, like people wanted me in the room, so clients would hire me and they wanted to be around me, even though I wasn't the best accountant for sure, 100%. But he's like, listen, clients love you. They always book you and they want to like, you know, they book you a year in advance to come out for auditing season. Like, if you just like lock down when you're in the office, like one day, and he looks around, he's like, you too can have this. And when I tell you that my heart nearly like fell into my like anus, and I was just like, can I say anus on here? Probably?
Yeah, you say whatever you want,
right,
bro.
Thank you. You bleep it out. So it dropped. I know it dropped. It was a noticeable drop. And I was like terrified because I looked at him and then I looked inside myself and I was like, I don't want to spend 5 years to do this and to have a corner office. And he probably made, you know, good money. But I was like, I can't do this. So I go on the spot. I was like, I quit.
Wow.
Yeah, I quit on the spot. But I had just rescued a dog, my dog Oz, who just passed away at the age of 18.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear.
Yeah, it's really tough, and I'll probably get choked up about it because like this was my like, I don't know if you saw the movie like The Crow with Brandon Lee.
I don't think
like
I
he's
have,
got
I'll
the
check it out,
spirit
though.
animal, which is a crow.
Yeah.
They're actually doing a remake of it, coincidentally. But like this was my spirit animal. Like he's kept me like sane so many times when I was going through another dark depressive period the time when I almost OD'd, like he was there for me. It was crazy. So rest in peace, Oz. But I had bills, so it was risky because I was
Did you
like,
have any cushion at all?
nah, because I was going to Nordstrom's and buying the things that I thought I needed, the $1,000 Great China Wall hoodie. So like, this is another entrepreneurial tidbit. Don't overextend yourself to look good for the public and like, because you don't need to. You know, I wanted all of those things when I couldn't afford those things. And now that I can afford those things, I could care. Like,
And
I
the
could
people that you really
less.
need to impress don't care about
They don't
those
care
things.
about that either.
Yeah.
They care about what energy you walk in. They don't care
sure.
that you have a Gucci belt on while you're bouncing and while you're giving them really credible ideas that they can then capitalize on and add value to their like situation. So quit the accounting job. And this is where it gets a little crazy because I ended up starting in New York City nightlife. Like, and this was like heyday of like 10 June. Like this is like 2007. I'm old. This is like 2007, right before the housing crisis, when like people were coming out with their Goldman Sachs credit cards, spending $110,000 on tables at like Duvet and China Club. And like, you might walk into 10 June and like Jay-Z would pick up the mic and start rapping, or Ye would pick up the mic and start rapping, because there was no like Instagram really. There was no Facebook. Like, we just loved having fun and going out. So there was like no era like that era of New York City nightlife, like early 2000s. The hip hop was
Still
like
not
going
even
crazy.
close to it.
Not even like a modicum of that. But I was like, dude, this is fun because I love, like, again, I was like, you know what I can do? I can create great experiences for people, because that's really what I love to do. I always love to entertain. And so I started working for different clubs, and I worked for this club, I won't name it, but it was run by the Albanians, and I was crushing it for them. We took over, I think it was every Friday night, and we would bring in security and DJs, and like, I hired DJ Aoki. I don't know if he's gonna remember this, but I want to say for like $1,000. This was like
early
cake
on.
throwing Aoki. I hired him to do a 3-story club at Touch. We brought in like 3,000, 4,000 people, which was massive at the time.
Yeah.
But I was making these guys so much money, so they loved having me around. And my energy was good.
That's
so I was
epic.
making them money.
Yeah.
They loved being around, and they'd call me and they'd be like, I can't speak Albanian, but they would like essentially be like, you're gonna be someone someday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, thank you, bro. They were always nice to me.
Yeah.
So did that for a few years, built up a really cool client list, but also, like, more importantly, I just learned how to take care of people. I learned how to make sure that they had an incredible experience, and make sure I set up, again, the right DJs with the right music. I remember we worked with the Pack out of like Lil B from the Pack, like got the Vans on, but they look like sneakers. Like, we would hire these kind of like really cool artists like Mano and stuff, and throw these incredible nights for people. And a lot of what I learned that era, ended up contributing to building the Rumble. So I did that for few years, but then 2008 happened and the housing crisis. And then all these like Lehman Brothers, all these bros that were spending all this money in nightlife ended up
just disappearing.
So the industry really bottomed out overnight, much with everything, because nobody had disposable income anymore after literally living in a golden era. And it was really unfortunate because at that time, two of my family members, they hate when I say specifically who, so I won't this time. One of really close to me though was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer, and then another one had a heart attack. So I ended up leaving New York City and moving back to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to kind of like deal with that issue. But I didn't have a job. I didn't have money saved up because, again, every dollar that I spent or every dollar that I made was going into Nordstrom's or Saks and getting Saint Laurent and Gucci. And like, I had all the fresh stuff, but, no money in the bank account, which is not good. Do not do that.
It's a learning experience.
Do not do that. Well, yeah, but if you can learn from my mistakes, like, because you should learn from your own mistakes, but it's genius to learn from other people's mistakes.
For sure.
Don't do that shit. It's not worth it. Cars, all that stuff, watches, don't do it. So
you're back home now.
Back home.
Yeah.
Dealing with that, like, I'm a very big family man. So, like, dealing with watching people close to my family, like taking them to the hospital, seeing them in like literally almost like adjoining hospital rooms and going through that for a year left me incredibly broken. So I started falling in with the wrong crowd. I started like doing drugs, which was never really a problem for me in the past, but I was just so downtrodden and depressed. And again, still all this crazy ADHD energy, but now with no place to channel it, because I had no purpose.
Yeah.
So I just like broke down. And I remember it was like, I think the Super Bowl one year, it was like 2009 or 2010 at the time. And I remember like waking up in the hospital and I like open my eyes and I see like my family, like my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother-in-law, my nieces, my nephew, and they're all looking at me like scared. So I'd mixed like painkillers and cocaine, not like on purpose, but I was just like young and I'm invincible.
Yeah.
So I did that. And I ended up in the hospital because of it. And I remember just seeing like the scared and disappointed look on their face. And from that moment on, this was, 2024 now? It was a long time ago. I haven't touched anything since then. So
are you completely sober, alcohol, everything too? Or you have a drink
since a year ago, I love tequila. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
I'm a big tequila drinker. I just like, I want to feel fresh. I want to have that energy and I want it to be authentic. And I found that it just doesn't serve that purpose for me anymore. Like I said, I've been partying with some of the biggest names in the world in New York City for, a long time. It's just, for me, it doesn't have that same allure.
Yeah.
So I kind of don't. It's not from like a holier than thou standpoint.
No,
it's just
I don't
like,
think so
it's
at
literally
all,
like very selfish because I just don't feel well. And I want to be able to perform always. And because I've invested so much in my body and how I physically feel, when I'm off, I can really tell that I'm off.
I think people think that alcohol makes them confident. Someone said this the other day. They worded it perfectly. They said, people think that alcohol makes you confident, but it just makes you realize, it just doesn't make you realize or doesn't make you notice that you're actually being an idiot.
Yeah.
And
alcohol's like money.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Because money can make you feel like you're not being an idiot too. You've seen it on Instagram with the people,
Yeah. There's a lot of it these days too. Lots of young kids with so much money.
So much money.
You should hear the stories of the people that come on here, bro. Like guys my age worth tens, hundreds of millions. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and God bless them. I'm not knocking anybody, but that comes with a great cost because others try to emulate that, and it's almost impossible to emulate that specific story of like a content creator that blows up or he creates like a Gymshark or something like that or whatever it is. So,
well, I think the best form of confidence is when it comes from just being proud of building something, which is like why I think entrepreneurship is the coolest sport in the world, and the greatest source of confidence, because whether you get your confidence from money or followers or the girl you're with, that could disappear at any time.
Always.
And then what happens, like
will.
You're rock bottom. But if your confidence comes from achievement, right, having built something, no one can take that away from you, no matter what happens.
We talked about the M3, driving the M3, because I earned it in a disingenuous, really shady way. I didn't feel great when I was doing it. I didn't feel great about myself. But now, like we built Rumble to hundreds of, 100 plus studios, and, I'll get stopped on the street corner. Like, I just want you to know I was going through a really bad breakup, or like, my dad died, or I felt real shitty. And I took a Rumble class, and I just want you to know that was like the best hour of my day.
Hell yeah.
And like, lit. That's like, yes, the money's cool. Obviously, it provides freedom and flexibility. But, and I say this all the time. I say the same quote, so I have to say it this class or this podcast. It's Muhammad Ali: "Service to others is our rent for our room here on earth."
when you provide the most value and you make people have the best time ever or feel proud of themselves, they will come back over and over and over to give you money. I think that's a perfect way to kind of introduce like what you've built essentially. The first question I have, I guess.
Wait, should I finish really quickly? Should I finish, not to cut you off, should I finish the depression?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
So I'll do the expedited version, because I think it's important to show like the absolute bottom. Like I was in the bottom of the bottom. I was suffering panic attacks. I was suffering withdrawals after that moment. And so like I got, literally my parents were like, you have to leave Pittsburgh. You're going to kill yourself. Like you're going to die here. So the funny thing is what got me out of that really depressive state and dealing with all that before I moved out of Pittsburgh was was driving by this place in Lawrenceville that was just opening. They were literally hanging the sign, and it was Warren Stout, Enzo Gracie, Jiu-Jitsu, Pittsburgh. And I was like, oh shit, I used to do that in college. Like maybe I'll just come here and I'll trade one addiction for the other. I'll trade like doing, painkillers and cocaine to training with Warren and the crew, Mike Wilkins and all these guys.
Dads.
Yeah, fucking rock stars who don't care about the things, and they don't care about the clout. They just wanted to roll and do jiu-jitsu. So I trained with them for like literally 5-6 days a week. And that, again, gave me focus. It gave me team. It taught me loyalty and camaraderie. It taught me how to be selfless, because you don't want to just come in and beat up your teammates. You want them to grow with you. They want you to grow. So it's just a really constructive environment and an important skill set that I learned. And plus, when you're rolling jiu-jitsu, you're too tired to be crazy, because at the end of the day, like you're sore. You're like, damn, I just got armbarred. You got choked out. Like you choke people out. You got sweat. You got like ringworm on your side. Like you don't want to go party and you don't want to do drugs. You want to be ready for the next day. So it really helped get my mentals right, but also my physical body. So kicked out of Pittsburgh. And I told you I was always the like fitness guy in college, just like as fun. Like I love going to the rec center. I love teaching people like the things that I learned from like, bodybuilding.com and like the stuff that I learned in jiu-jitsu. And so this guy who I went to college with, this guy, Micah Jesse, he was doing a write-up on Kim Kardashian's favorite workout or something that had just touched down in New York City. I don't know why I use that voice like that, but 2011, I think it was. And it was Barry's Bootcamp. And he was like, yo, you're the fitness guy. Like, I remember you in college, like, always at the rec center, always talking about fitness and, jiu-jitsu and stuff. Like, come to this thing with me. And I came in with the biggest ego. I almost didn't go, which I'm not sitting here today if I don't go. So there, as an entrepreneur also, you have to be able to show up and identify pivotal moments where you're there for greatness to happen.
And a lot of times it might be something that you would overlook.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
That's why it's like Jim Carrey, like yes man. Like I've never really regretted stuff that I've said yes to, because it's either a learning experience or like I just wasted a little bit of time, whatever.
Worst case scenario, you waste a little bit of time.
But if I say no and there was that person there, or there's that chance encounter that like, was gonna happen that I just wasn't there for, one, you don't know, so you don't know where you could be, but like just show up. But then that's not half the battle. That's just minimum. Then the battle is the battle.
Yeah.
So anyway, I show up to this thing and I'm like whatever. I think it's like Jane Fonda, like some like cheesy like 70s stuff. Yeah. But that class kicked my ass. And I was like sprinting up a hill and like squat pressing weights, and like I was motivating my friend, like making sure that they were, doing the stuff that they had to do, because again, I kind of knew what I was doing with fitness. And the trainer at the time ended up being this guy, Joey Gonzalez, who is, I think, now the CEO of Barry's and one of the owners. And he was like, bro, I don't know what you do, but would you want a job? And like at that time, after getting kicked out of Pittsburgh, I was like bartending and modeling and doing like little odd jobs, like to just earn rent. And I was like, you know what? Yeah. So again, talk about showing up with consistent energy and having a skill to give to people. I showed up. My point of differentiation at Barry's, which was very pop heavy and EDM, was I was a raw, really like rugged trainer. I would show up, I would play my hip hop, I would play my DMX, my ASAPs, I would play the Jay-Z's, and I would play Biggie's and all that stuff, and the remixes with the cool drops, and we'd be sprinting on the drop, and I'd be creating an experience that connected the music with the workout. And again, I was like definitely rough around the edges, but people responded to that. And some days I'd show up with like 3 people would be in my class. And then I was like suffering panic attacks during that time, because I was still going through withdrawals and still like dealing with depression and anxiety and all these like negative things. But I remember that every time I would have a panic attack, as opposed to when I was in my house and like focusing on it, like literally like you hold your pulse, and people that suffer panic attacks are going to be like, oh, I do this too. There's little ticks that you do. Like you make sure you check your pulse. You're like, oh, am I going to die? You sit there and you like focus on what's going wrong. But what happened was, and what helped me, and again, I'm not a doctor by any means, but this is what helped me, is when I was going through those moments, I gave myself to the class, and I was just like, all right, I have a panic attack, but I got to make sure that Greg is running up and sprinting as hard as he can and making sure he's being safe and making sure he's hitting those squats and making sure Jessica is having a great time.
Yeah,
and
Greg's gonna have a heart attack if I can't get him in shape.
Exactly.
So
like I gotta get out of my own shit, my own like darkness, and just like focus on other people, which again is not selfless because it ended up serving me. And I became addicted to that. So I became addicted to, all right, I'm going through some shit. Fuck it. I'm just going to focus on other people externally and give them what I have, which was at the time, wasn't a lot. It was just energy and motivation and my little bit of skills that I built up in jiu-jitsu and strength training and playing football and working with, really good strength coaches and learning kind of, again, in the streets. Like I got my certification and whatever online. Like I didn't go through like the courses and like study and I don't have 1,000 certs, but like I studied every book. I like was in the gym with these world-renowned people. I got to train with Matt Serra, Nick Serra, Sarah Jiu-Jitsu, and Warren Stout, and all these incredible jiu-jitsu and MMA practitioners. So I got to learn firsthand, like, what to do, which honestly I think is a little bit more important than 10,000 certs at the end of your name. No disrespect to that.
Yeah.
But so I would show up, and then like next week it was 10 people, and then it was 5 people again, and then it was 17 people, and then it was no people. I'm like, what the fuck? And then it was 20. But the thing is I showed up with that consistent energy, consistent delivery, whether it was 15 people, whether it was 0. And then all of a sudden, a few months into it, I got a little buzz for myself in New York City. 60 people showing up with a 60-person wait list. I'm not even kidding. I would double my class with a double wait list. 60 and 60.
That's probably never happened there before, yeah?
It was unprecedented because I was that kid, again, that just had a lot of energy to give, and I had a really unique class, which played hip-hop and like was more like kind of raw than most. And I was just real with the shit that I said, how I talked to people. I didn't talk to them like, hey guys, let's go. Like, you got to bust your booty and get up that hill. I was like, what the fuck, man? I'm like, I know you got more. And like, I just talked to them like I did my friends at the bar, and I came with a different approach to this kind of group fitness thing that was, growing with Soul Cycle and Berries and all these other things. So I remember the participants in my class, though, ended up really being my biggest allies because they were producers, they were directors. I remember Michael O'Rourke from Hudson Media put me in something called Fighting Weight with GQ. So I did a whole GQ series because he loved my energy, and he was like, dude, I've never been on camera before. He was like, why don't you go on camera? And like, I'm sure like you'll figure it out. And I was like, damn, like I can do this and do what I love. So these people ended up being my biggest allies. So I talked about showing up and being a person that other people want in the room. Like Michael just wanted me on set with him. So he invited me. Did I have the skill set? Did I have any training? Did I go to acting school? No. I figured it out.
Yeah.
And it was a great series. It got hundreds of millions of views between all of them. And it led to other things like, features in Vanity Fair and Harper's Bazaar and Shape Magazine and like all these different periodicals.
It just started happening. Good stuff just started happening because you were showing up.
It didn't just start happening though.
Yeah.
It was my whole life. It was every darkness that I've ever been through, the ODing, it was the depression, it was the getting kicked out of schools as a kid. It was finally finding what made me feel better and then giving that freely and consistently in a very unique way and an energized way to the public, and the public responding accordingly. Consistent though.
Yeah.
Because there were days, again, when I would show up in class, did I feel like fucking being that guy that was like, all right, we're going to get after it. I'm going to put on some Busta Rhymes remixes, and we're going to just absolutely get fucking silly, and we're going to have a great time and forget about all the other bullshit in New York City. Yeah, there were times I showed up where I didn't feel like doing that. But it's not disingenuous if you really I wanted to feel like doing it.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't sit there and I was like, all right, guys, like, let's do whatever we're going to do today. Like, imagine that.
That's important.
It's important to show up.
Very
so I showed up and I delivered. And then, again, that led to a bunch of different things. So it led to my own show on Bravo. I had a show for a season on Bravo called Workout, obviously. They're very creative over there, Andy Cohen. What's up? Really, he's actually a really cool dude. But what happened was Eugene Rem was noticing, one, me building my own personal brand within Berries and doing all of this other stuff. And then two, I was posting a lot of boxing videos at the time because my neighbor in New York at the time was a big Australian dude, and he was obsessed with boxing. He trained with Mark Hunt and a bunch of pro fighters and pro boxers over in Australia. And he was like, yo, do you want me to teach you how to box and I'll teach you jiu-jitsu? So I was like, hell yeah. So there was this Crunch on Lafayette Street that's no longer there anymore, but it was one of the only Crunch gyms that had a boxing ring, and it had like heavy bags and it had a speed bag. So I would post these videos, I think on Facebook. I mean, this was old, like, and I think Instagram as well. Like, early ages of Instagram. So I would post these videos. I didn't post these videos to say, hey, I want to make money off this. Yeah. I posted these videos just because it was what I was doing. Again, UGC. Like, I just wanted to, like, show the world, like, hey, this is really fun. Like, I was feeling a little stressed, and then I went boxing, and now I feel fucking great. So I posted all these videos, and Eugene noticed. He was like, hey, I know you're at Barry's. I know you're building a name. Would you want to start your own thing? And I had a little composition notebook that I've been writing in, just little personal ideas. Like, all right, if I leave Barry's, what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do next? And I was like, all right, I try to work in boxing at Barry's. Like, what if I did a similar construct, but like we focused on things that I loved, which was like the aesthetic of the place. Like, I want to walk in and have it be awesome. I want it to look like, you know, an art museum, like a NoHo art loft. Like, if you walk into Rumble, we'll go after, because it's right down the street, coincidentally, which is dope. We opened this one in 2018.
Congrats.
You have, like, thank you. You have art, and you have like Whizbee statues, like authentic Whizbee that you'll see on like Rodeo Drive. Like, we have an authentic Whizbee statue, and we have this really cool kind of like Banksy meets Basquiat meets Warhol kind of art aesthetic, because growing up in Pittsburgh, I always studied.
And were you customizing these things, by the way? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, so we customized everything. Wow, okay. We would give our artists, like Mikey D'Angelo and Carlos, Eugene and I would give them input. And luckily, Eugene and I grew up very similarly. You know, MTV, hip hop generation. We loved street art as well. We loved the grittiness of New York City, where we both really found our edge. So you'll see a lot of what's in the brand is uniquely inherent to like our upbringing and our lifestyle and our tastes. Yeah. So yeah, everything was curated by us.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. And again, that provides, like, I always say this line, like, we never set out to be different. We just set out to be us. So we didn't go and look at competition and be like, oh, I don't want to do that, or oh, I want to do that. We just said, oh, this is what we would want. If we were bringing our friends, like, the next day after a night out at Catch or Catch Steak, like, where would we want to work out? Like, what music would we want to listen to? What would we want to Instagram? Like, what would the photos look like? How would we want the front desk to treat us? How we want the experience in class to go? So I found my little niche, and I was writing on this composition notebook the 3 things that ended up turning Rumble into the, you know, value that it's at today. The 3 things were, I want to punch shit, I want to listen to rap music, and I want to do dope things with dope people. That was literally like the, you know, $1 million, so to speak, idea. Like, those 3 things. Yeah. And so we built a whole brand based on that. Like, all we do at Rumble is we punch it, we listen to rap music, although we sprinkle in a little like Taylor Swift and a little, you know, of the EDM and pop, just for the people. For sure. And I want to do dope things or cool things with cool people. So we did it with a bunch of really amazing people, and our clientele was awesome. It was those same people that helped, you know, me get on GQ and Vanity Fair and help me build my own brand. We wanted to provide a space where no matter who you are, like, I don't care if you're Bieber walking in down the street, or you're, you know, Ben, you know, an accountant walking in from Beverly Hills. You were treated the same, and you were treated like a fucking rock star, and you still are. And that hospitality point and that differentiation is all curated and it was all thought of. So Eugene came to me, and I was like, he didn't know that I had ideas. And he is obviously a genius in his own right.
Was he already somewhat successful?
Yeah, no, he crushed it with Catch, and he had Tenjune, which I said was one of the most iconic nightclubs in the meatpacking district in like history. It was Tenjune. Him and Mark Birnbaum created what will go down as one of the best nightclubs in the history of the industry. Hell yeah. For sure. Yeah. And then a series of failures. He's had failures too. He opened up a restaurant. The general finale ended up costing him millions of dollars. But he found his niche with Catch, and now partnered with Tillman Fertitta, and they're scaling it with Matt, with Landry's group. They're scaling it all over. They just opened in Miami, and it's just like you walk in and it's just a great experience. It's just like, yeah, anybody can make sushi and plate food, but what else? How does it make you feel? So that was what we focused on at Rumble. And so again, if I don't show up to that Barry's class because I'm like, you know, suffering depression and I don't feel like going out, because depression makes you want to just be a hermit and stay inside. If I don't go there, if I don't post on the boxing, if I don't show up consistently with the energy, if I don't do all these things, there's no Rumble. So like, when I come on these things, like, I never want to be preachy and be like, this is what you have to do to be successful. Buy my course for $10.99. You're just saying what you did. I'm saying what I did. And if you could take takeaways from that, like, I am certainly no person to stand on a pulpit and be like, this is what you need to do to be successful. I don't fucking know. And to be honest, even the most successful people that I know personally, they don't really know either. They're just kind of winging it and figuring it out. And again, putting out fires as they come along. Yeah. I mean, they're obviously smart, but so they know how to navigate the treacheries of entrepreneurship. But again, like, you know, even Bezos, like, the timing was right, and Gates will tell you that the timing was right. And he got like a computer programming course that was down the street from his house when computers were first coming out. So like, just the proximity of that, like, helped him grow to
Absolutely.
Windows.
And the guys,
to
it's easy to look at anyone who's found a lot of success, whether it's an athlete or an actor or a businessman, and think, well, they know everything. They have the answers. In reality, they have, sure, a lot of success,
of course,
but they also usually have just as many, if not more, failures than everybody else.
100%. Everybody has fucked up more times than they've been successful. But in this day and age, we don't want to hear about the fuck ups. We just want to see the success story. We want to see the
People
Lambos.
do.
But no,
It's changing.
No, and I love that
Yeah.
shift, and that's why I'm here to be,
Yeah.
I'll be the biggest cheerleader for that shift about being real and being authentic and showing the struggles. Like, I'll show you my lowlights. I'd actually probably rather show you my lowlights than my highlights because I think that's more impactful.
It is.
Like
the videos that I've made that have literally got me the most amount of followers, the most amount of DMs, like the valuable ones are me saying, yeah, I lost fucking 50K last month because I made this one dumb, I was impatient and I rushed an order, whatever, right? Sure, that's like small scale, but
Squid House.
that's what people want to hear, yeah.
So
So
dope, by the way.
thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
super
I can't wait to tell you more after this, but this one's about you. So
Oh,
you gotta
okay,
hear.
sorry.
You're also, by the way, this might be like the easiest podcast I've ever done.
Really?
Because you're just.
Thank you.
I don't even have to ask questions. You're doing it perfectly.
I'm just a fucking guy, man. I'm just
No,
a
it's
guy.
great, bro. I
I'm
love
just a
it.
guy.
And
thank y'all for listening. I don't know. Like, they probably tuned out like 40 minutes ago.
This could
but we're
go
here.
for like an hour and a half if there wasn't someone in 15.
Oh, we gotta hurry. Okay,
But
so
yeah,
we gotta
but
do the,
so I
the
got
Cliff
some
Notes version
for sure. I got some like actual business questions that
Yes.
I'm very curious about. So when did you open the first location?
2017. We
Okay.
started ideation in 2016. Literally, we would in the Lafayette Hotel. I told you I was going to be brief, and then I go into a fucking very vast story.
Yeah.
Lexington Hotel. Eugene was connected to the owners. I believe it was the Moynihan family. And they let us use the basement of their dilapidated club that was shut
Nice.
down, and we put in little like preschool mats and hung up some bags that you'll see at Rumble, and put some weights, some like.
So it wasn't
shitty
like
Dick's
big
weight.
budget. It was like rugged, first location, open. Let's
No, well, that was where we did our friends and family and tested.
Okay. That's important though. Some people wait. Some people wait. I need the perfect product. I need the perfect product, and they just wait for months, years. When in reality, like
launch
you
and
need to
learn.
start testing.
Yeah, you got to launch and learn. But let me preface that with saying, especially nowadays, you do have one chance to make that first impression.
For sure.
So especially when you're trying to deliver an elevated product and an elevated experience, and especially because we were super fortunate because of my brand that I built up, media and Eugene, obviously. Media was super interested. Before we even opened our first Rumble, I was doing Good Morning America. I was doing shoots for morning shows. I was doing Covetor. I was doing these really, because they were interested, like, oh, this guy from Barry's who like has a show and he's got a name for himself, and Eugene Ram of New York City fame is like, they're opening something new, like, ooh, it's like interesting. So we did have a lot, like, again, that's why I'm not trying to tell people, like, because somebody opening up a gym now is not going to have those advantages that I have.
Well, if anything, it just shows how valuable a personal brand is, which is
100%.
probably the biggest thing I
Authentic
preach.
personal brand.
For sure.
Authentic personal branding. Or you become a South Park episode.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the one about branding.
I
You guys should watch that because it's actually funny. The South Park episode, I forget what it's called, but it was about branding.
Yeah.
But yes, like, again, we had something unique to offer. So we opened in 2017, 23rd between 6th and 7th, which coincidentally was 3 streets up from Barry's where I taught. So they didn't love that. I'm sorry, but I had to do my thing. So 3 streets up, and we opened to a madhouse. Because
crazy.
again, the right people were involved. We got, Scooter as an early investor, Scooter Braun, who brought in,
Hell yeah.
the Biebers and stuff. And Scooter's an awesome dude, by the way. I could tell you another story about him and Bun B, who he left, but the guy chopping it up in the back, he's a big Bun B fan. How he introduced me because he knew that I loved him. It was a whole thing. But we got really cool people involved, and we got, the right actor like agencies involved for actors and models, and so all of these really notable people with big Instagram followings were showing up to Rumble, and that created that buzz that got a ton of people in. But at the end of the day, like I said, whether you're Jeff from Beverly Hills, the accountant, or Bieber, Justin, we treated you like a rock star. So we executed on the experience. So we had this flash, but we also had the substance. We had the chicken and the sauce, as Eugene loves to say.
Yeah.
We had both, because you need both. You can't, what you'll see nowadays is you can garnish attention very quickly, but can you keep it?
Yep.
Do you want to be a fad, or do you want to be forever? So I always wanted to be forever. And I knew that, again, providing a consistent value to people was going to make us forever. So we crushed it. We're doing collaborations with Nas and Pharrell and like Tiesto and Little Dicky and like Gap's renting out the place. And Nike gave us, like I designed a shoe with Nike. Yeah. I designed a custom Rumble shoe. I think it was the Metcon when they were releasing it. I got to sit with their team and design it like what I wanted. You know how crazy that is for a kid that would watch like Bo Jackson running up the wall during the like Bo Knows campaign?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not a pro athlete by any means, but like, what? That's crazy. But it came from not me finessing it and trying to angle that, you know, not me manipulating my way there, but like you said, just providing a value that made people at the end of the day feel fucking great.
Fuck yeah. And how, so obviously it starts ripping right away.
Yeah.
Well, how long did it take? When did you hit 100 locations?
Recently. So we took it to 14 corporate stores. We call those the signature locations. So those are the New Yorks, the San Franciscos, the DC, the Philly, the LA. Those are our big corporate stores. 6,600 square feet, showers, massive artwork, like all that. Then when we sold the IP to Exponential a few years ago during the pandemic, I believe it was, or right coming out of the pandemic. I don't know. That whole era is a blur. They sold, I think, almost, it was their fastest selling concept. So we sold instantly, I want to say like 200 some licenses. So now over the past year and a half and some change, they've been opening those up.
Great.
So now it's like, I believe 100 locations.
You still have
another
equity?
200. Yeah.
Perfect.
Of course.
That's great. And you have to.
We just talked about this. Listen, if you want to, be rich, chase a check. If you want to be wealthy, chase equity. Always take equity deals when you can, obviously.
Absolutely. And so, okay, this is all happening so fast, I can imagine.
So fast.
Lots of good stuff happening, but you're also working your ass off.
Yeah.
How do you balance, I think this is really important. I wonder if you even, maybe you don't even think it's important. How do you balance like your well-being with also like just being obsessed about growing this business?
So I'm super fortunate because the business was based on the foundation
What's your well-being?
Yeah, I'm saying like it was all based on the foundation of making you inherently healthier and better. So like that's the thing, is like I didn't have to worry about that. So like when I was when I was at Rumble, I was teaching 6 days a week. But I wanted to be there. I was teaching classes, I was taking classes, I was like excited about it. So I do think balance is important, but balance is sometimes not possible.
Yeah.
If you're trying to build something of scale and of a massive magnitude. It's sometimes impossible. So there's times where again, I worked in my personal life with my business life. So a lot of even my, a creative agency that I'm working on right now, launching as an advisor, I'm doing it with some of my best friends. So I hang with them and it's work, but it's not, because I'm hanging.
That's exactly where I am right now.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the goal.
If that is heaven
Instead of
on
working
earth.
for money, some people just work the shittiest job, shittiest industry just for money because they think that's going to solve their problems. But
I don't talk. Listen, I was an accountant for a long time. Like I don't talk down on that, because especially with the trappings of how we set up society, like sometimes you're just in that and you have to do that, and and that's fine. But what I always say is, long term, net, you have to make yourself happy. So if you're burning yourself out and you're literally pulling 20-hour work days consistently, can you do that for a little bit when you're motivated? For sure. But it's not sustainable, and you get diminishing returns on your work. So I found a way, again, when I'm feeling a little whatever, I'll go take a few days for myself. But in the beginning, sometimes you're going to have to make those sacrifices. And that's building anything. You're going to struggle. You're going to have pain points that you got to work through, and you're going to have to work 3 weeks in a row before taking a day off. And that's just necessary. But it's also why not everyone can do it. And that's fine.
Yeah.
But entrepreneurship and building things like this, your own businesses, again, you fail 99 times. You fight for that one chance to be successful. And it's not for everybody, because it's very demoralizing. It takes a ton of energy, and it's tough. It's just tough. But everything good in life is tough. So
I couldn't have said it better myself. And so I think that's perfect. Kind of great way to wrap it up. Once again, I could go on for another hour with you.
I got to come back.
But we do have to do a part 2, bro. It'd be great. Or next time you're in Austin. But
I would love that.
This is a question that I always like to ask at the end. And it's meant to, you can take some time to think about it if you want. It's meant to challenge you.
I'm going to Kanye you.
What is one thing that you hold to be true that you think everybody else would certainly disagree with? Like, this is like the truth that you believe in that you think everybody else is wrong on this one.
Oh, fuck. That's actually very tough. Remember Kanye with the TMZ interview? And he's like, you asked me a question. I'm going to take some time to figure out my answer. Yeah. No, we're not going to go to commercial break. We might have to go to commercial break. What is the one thing? Damn. You know what? Actually, no. You can be genuinely positive. I feel like nowadays people think that if you put out this like positive, especially with the state of the world, because there's some rough things going on right now for sure. The world is in a very big state of disarray, but there's a lot of greatness in it. So I'll just speak again. I can't speak to everyone, but for me, people think that I'm like full. If you don't know me, you think I'm full of shit. You're like, oh, this guy walks off and he's like exhausted and he takes a Celsius. Like, no, this is me at 2 p.m. If I'm fortunate enough to come back and have the audience's ear and your ear again, like I'm gonna be the same fucking person. This is me. But I think nowadays in this sea of disingenuous kind of branding, especially personal branding, especially with what we do, there are real people out there. Mm-hmm. There are. They might be a dime a dozen and they might be a needle in a haystack, but there are. So like, I just want people to give people the benefit of the doubt before they judge them.
Hell yeah, dude. I love that. And I completely agree with you. I think most of the people that come on, they tend to be high energy like yourself. You might be the highest of all, which is fucking perfect.
Damn.
Yeah, dude, perfectly said.
Thank
man.
you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Noah Neiman. I'm going to link all of his stuff too. Everyone has to go check him out for sure. And maybe we'll do a part 2 soon, catch up on everything. But
we got to go to Rumble now. I got to show you.
Yeah,
I can actually show you. We talked about it. I want to show you the whole thing.
I'm hella excited, actually. So, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for coming on, bro.
Of course, my pleasure.
And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.
See you guys. Thank you.